if you were watching the last stream, I was muted, which was that was really dumb. Okay, so I'm sorry about that. I am actually really sorry, but we're gonna restart because I totally messed up. That is really disappointing because I was at 300 and then I learned I was muted, which is very sad. I'm so sorry, guys. But if you guys can read the title, then today I am going to be saying Josh Horton 10,000 times. It's going to take very long, but yeah, how this all started was Josh Horton subscribed to me, and then I made a little challenge where I would say Josh Horton 10,000 times if he gave me a shout out, and he actually agreed to that, which is really cool. That is actually amazing. But today I'm going to be doing that. I mean, it's insane, but I'm gonna do it, and I hope you guys enjoy. So today that's what we're gonna be doing, and I am like 90% sure. If I'm muted right now, okay, thank you. That was really sad because I was already at 300 and I was muted, so I'm sorry about that. Here we go. I am very sorry. So we're gonna have this little counter here where every time I say Josh Horton, I click it and it goes up one. So yeah, let's get right into it. Josh Horton, 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 Horton, Josh 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 Horton, Josh. Okay. 0.05%. 0.055%. I can hear you. Okay, thank you. I feel so dumb about that last time. So Horton, Josh 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 Horton. Horton, Josh 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 Horton, Horton, Josh 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 Horton. Okay, I can't do this. Give me 1 second. I need water. Okay. By the way, Josh Horton is a very cool YouTuber. He does amazing stuff. He's a great juggler. In my opinion, probably one of the best in the world. Also, he has a lot of other people on his channel, including YouTubers like Chris Staples and many others. So, really cool. His link will be in the description. It is not right now because it was, I don't know, I just didn't put it in, but I will put it in at the end of the stream. And we're also doing a giveaway right now. So if you guys want to check out the giveaway, you can see info in the description. So back to this. This is hard. Horton, Josh 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 Horton, Josh. Okay, I'm just gonna leave the cap off of this thing because. Okay, I shouldn't drink so much because I'm gonna need it for like 3 hours. If any of you have Instagram, go tell Josh that I'm doing this because I can't right now. Josh Horton, 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 Horton, Josh 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 Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. 2% done. Okay, 6 watching. Thank you guys for watching. Just about 980. No, 9,800. This is gonna take a long time. Okay, if you guys can share this video with all your friends, we can get this video to like 1,000 views by the end. That'd be awesome. Josh Horton, 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 what am I even saying? Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Dude, when you say something so many times, it just sounds weird. I can't even pronounce it anymore. Okay, let's go. Josh Horton, 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 Horton, Josh 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 Horton. 3%. Okay. This is so hard. This is actually so hard. Josh Horton, 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 Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh. What am I even? Josh Horton, 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 Horton, Josh 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 Horton, Josh. I shared it to 10 people and the SLPB team. Thank you. Josh Horton, 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 and we're at 400. Let's go. All right. Thank you for everyone that is watching this. And thank you to Josh Horton and Waffalo and the rest of their team for accepting this challenge. So, let's continue. I am getting very... How are your vocal cords? Well, I can hardly breathe, and I'm only at 400, so this is going to be interesting. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. I can't even understand what I'm saying. Hello, Akash. I'm sorry, I didn't even realize who you were for a second. Josh Horton, 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 Horton, Josh 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 Horton, and Josh Horton. 5% done. Sorry, is he gonna shout you out? Yeah, I think he is. Huh? Toner, I'm gonna sub to you. Why? Alright, now you guys are just talking. Sorry. So, here we go. The thing that we did was I said that if Josh gave me a shout out in one of his videos, I would do this. And he actually DM'd me saying that he would do it. So that is really cool. Thank you, Josh. And yeah, so we're gonna start. I mean, not really start, continue. Every 100 I'll check chat. I'm just gonna throw that out there. And if you guys are watching, you can share this with people. That would mean a lot to me. We're trying to get this stream to 1,000 views, not viewers, but views by like the end of it. So yeah, all right. Josh Horton, 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 Horton, Josh 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 Horton, Josh. I'm sorry if you guys can't understand what I'm saying. I'm trying very hard to say it right. Oh my god. This is very difficult. Drop a like. We're almost at 10 likes. Josh Horton, 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 Josh. And not try to do that. Josh Horton. All right. Yeah, it is annoying, isn't it, when you say a word so many times? Yes, it is starting to annoy me too. My head is... But go subscribe to him. He's awesome. He's almost at 700k. He's at like 698 or something. Okay. Josh Horton, 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 600. Let's go. Every 100 I say is 1%. So that's not bad. Okay. I'm gonna turn off chat on like the screen, you know? Just so that... Oh, that didn't do it. Never mind. I don't know how to do it. Whatever. Alright. Josh Horton, 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 Horton. Close enough. Dude, I wish it would have been so much easier to just say Horton or something, but saying Josh Horton is very difficult. Is your mind? No, you're not gonna say that, are you? You're staying here until I say 10,000. Carson, I did the math and it's gonna take 3 hours. So I respect your niceness, but I doubt you'll stay. Josh Horton, 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 Josh, and Josh Horton. All right. You're plugging your phone in. Wow. Okay. I'm trying to take a break every 100, but as soon as I hit 800, I'm going to take a small break, take a drink of water, and then go all the way to 1,000. Then I'll be 10% done. And I started... Can anyone tell me what time I started? I want to see you hit 1,000? Okay. I'll hit 1,000 for you, Akash. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. For some reason, it's easier for me to say Horton Josh, so I start saying Josh, and I say Horton Josh, Horton Josh. It's been 16 minutes. Is that what you're saying? Oh my goodness! All right. Josh Horton, 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 Josh. Josh Horton, 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 Horton, Josh Horton, and Josh Horton, 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 oops, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, 800, let's go, 17 minutes, I've been going for 17 minutes. Again, if you guys are watching this, make sure to share it with some people so we can get as many views on this. If we can get 1,000 views at the end of the stream, that'd be awesome. Why? Oh. Sorry, this is the title. I have the same tags as my Among Us thing because I didn't change the description, but sorry about that. Alright, I'm gonna go from 800 all the way to 1,000. So, let's go. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Jeez, I cannot say this stuff right. Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Oh, I did it. There we go. That's 1,000. Again, go check out Josh. Hello. Sorry, I can't read. Michael 04. Share the stream with some friends. And wait, Michael, are you from my basketball team? Is that who that is? Is that Michael from Spring Lake Park B team? Okay. Anyway, I'm at 1,000. That is. Yes, he is. Oh, cool. I didn't know you were on YouTube. So, hey. I'm at 1,000. That's 10% done. Good luck. Thank you, Ty Customs. So, we're gonna do this right now. I just every 2, I need another water. Hydro flask. Hey, Cade. Okay, so we're 10% to 10,000. And if any of you have Instagram, go say that Josh is doing this and tag him. I mean that DH23 is doing this and tag him, because that would mean a lot. So I don't know what's up with the chats on the screen. Didn't try to do that, but I did, so whatever. Giveaway info in the description if you would like to join the giveaway. So that's cool. And let's continue. I don't want to waste my voice on saying anything that is not Josh. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. This is so difficult. All right. 1 second. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Okay. For those of you that are just coming in, you probably don't know really what's going on, so I made a video saying that I would say Josh Horton 10,000 times if he gave me a shout out, and he DM'd me responding yes, so we are going to do that. I just want to make sure I'm not muted, because I was muted a little bit last time, so again, if you guys are here, please share this with your friends. That'd be awesome. So I did not say Tim Horton. Actually, yeah, he said PewDiePie like 100,000 times. Anyway, I will do it. I will do it. I'm 11% there. Every 100 is 1%. Thank you, Carson. Okay. Josh Horton, 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 Horton, Josh 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 Horton, Horton, Josh 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 Horton. 12% done. Oh my goodness, I'm tired. I've been going for 27 minutes, which means I started. I'll just say I started at 2 because I pretty much started at 2, so. See how long it takes me to do this. Oh my god. I don't think I'd be able to do this without water. Okay. 7 people watching. Thank you. Thank you everyone for watching. I can't even talk properly, dude. It's just so hard. Again, if you have Instagram, you can go tell Josh that I'm doing this. That'd be awesome. I mean, he knows that I'm doing it today, but I don't know. If he shows up, that's awesome. If he says something in chat, that'd be really cool. So, Josh, if you're watching, say something in chat, please. That'd be so cool. We're gonna continue. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Oh my god, this is so hard. Whoops. Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Oh my goodness, it's so hard to say something so many times. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. That was a little bit fast. I'm gonna say 2 more. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Take a break at. No, I'm not going to. Alright. Josh Horton, 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 Horton. Oh my goodness. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Josh Horton, 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 1,400. Oh, I did it. Okay, I'm at 14% complete. 12 likes. That's more than my videos normally get, like after 2 weeks. So thank you guys so much for those. And I'm guessing we're already at like 50 views. That's pretty good. Okay. Dude. Ugh, back of my throat is so dry. Alright. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. I like the way you set this up. I don't know what you mean by that, but thank you. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Let's go. Alright. 13 likes. Thank you. Been going for 33 minutes. So that's nice. Okay. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Oh, no way, I'm saying this a million times. Oh, it'd be too hard. I can't even. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. This is so hard. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Let's go. Okay. My goodness. I might have to get a refill at some point. When will he shout you out? He said after the stream, so he can like show a clip and stuff. I'm not 100% sure like the exact date, but he posted today, so not today. Probably not tomorrow, maybe tomorrow. I have no idea, but let's go. All right. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Oh my goodness, what the heck? Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Okay. Josh Horton, 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 Horton, Josh 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 Horton. This is so hard. Josh Horton, 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 Horton, Josh 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 Horton. This is so hard. Drink your water. I'm doing it every now and then. It's just so hard. I'm gonna use my left hand. Big difference, huh? Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. 20% done. At the place you're going, it's going to take you close to 4 hours. I'm trying to go faster, but yeah. Hello, TSU Trick Shots. Alright, I gotta stop paying attention to you guys. I'm going to go 500 in a row. I'm not even going to look at chat. If you're watching though, share this with your friends. Let's try to get this to 1,000 views by the end. Alright, I'm going hard now. Josh Horton, 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 Josh. Oh, sorry. Josh Horton, 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 Horton, Josh 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 Horton, Horton, Josh 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 Horton, Josh. I'm like, I literally, I just forgot his name for a second. I don't know how I forgot his name, but Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. See, I did 500 in a row. See that? Let's go. Alright. 1/5 of the way done. Yeah. We are 25% done. That's crazy, bro. 500 in a row. Let's get it. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Okay. I gotta keep going fast because otherwise this is gonna take very long. So I'm gonna continue. I'm gonna go to 3,000. Josh Horton, 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 Horton, Josh 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 Horton. It might sound like I'm saying nothing, but I'm trying. Okay, I'm sorry. Josh Horton, 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 Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. If you're watching this, please subscribe. This is very difficult. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. I can't even say it right. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Horton, Josh 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 Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. I can't even understand what I'm saying. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. If you're watching, please subscribe. Yep, 3,000. Let's go. That is 30%. Can't even think. Let's go. Thank you guys. All right. We're going. I'm gonna go to 3,500 without stopping. Well, I'll probably stop. Just take very small breaks, but you know what I mean. Just like I did from 2,500 to there. So my goal is 5,000 by. I'll spend an hour. 5,000 by 2:30. I mean 3:30. So we're gonna try this. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Jordan Horton, Josh 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 Horton. Horton, Josh 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 Horton. I could not do this though. I thought you said you could not do this, Carson. Josh Horton, 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 Horton, Josh 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 Horton. Josh Horton, 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 and Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. I'm sorry if you can't understand what I'm saying. I'm truly trying to say the right stuff, but it's very difficult. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. 35%. Let's go. Alright, guys. If you're watching this, please share the stream. I am sorry I keep saying that, but this is taking a long time, and I am on track now to go and get whatever many it was. By the way, The goal by the end of this stream for subscribers is 400. So we are at 393. We've already gone up 2. That's pretty good. So thank you guys for that. But again, we already have 18 likes, guys. Listen, this stream has to have at least 100 views already. Most of my videos get 10 likes like after 2 weeks. So this is amazing. Thank you guys so much. We're gonna continue. I need water. From now on, I'm going to minimalize talking and just focus on doing this. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. I messaged Josh Horton. Thank you. Josh Horton, 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 Horton, Josh 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 Horton. So hard. Oh my god. This is so hard. 2 people watching, come on. Message some people. I mean, text it to some people. Let's get it up to like at least 5. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Oh, are we good? I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. We kind of got off there for a second. That was scary. Okay, say something in chat to tell me that like this stream is working. I don't want to keep going if it's not. Anyone, just say something because I don't want this. Akash, is the stream okay? It works? Okay, so like you can hear what I'm saying right now and you can see me and stuff? Just say yes. Just anyone say yes, please, because just say yes. Okay, thank you, because I don't know what happened, but it stopped for a second and got me worried. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Horton, Josh 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 Horton. This is truly hard, so please subscribe. Yeah, I am still doing it, Cade. I am not the most brilliant person on the earth, but I'm not even that close, so we're gonna keep doing it. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Yeah, I am really close. Josh Horton, 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 Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Okay, so I need to be at 5,000 by 3:30, and it's 3:14, which means that I need 800 more. So we're just gonna do. Let's just say I can say one every second. 60 times 15. 900. I can do it. Let's go. Okay, I gotta get back up though. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. This is so difficult. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Okay, try to get into a more comfortable position here because I'm gonna be here a lot longer. All right, subscriber check right here. Give it a sec. 393. Nice. That's 2 more than when we started. Our old goal is 400 by the end, so hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much. Let's keep going. Horton, Josh 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 Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. By the way, if you guys see me kind of bouncing around this because I got bolts here, it's kind of weird, but I'm not I don't even know. Alright. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Yeah, Josh, if you're watching, that's awesome. Can you, if Josh is watching, says something in chat, that'd be awesome. So, Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Oh my goodness, this is so. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. It might sound like I'm saying nothing, but if you slow it down, I might be. I can't even tell at this point. I'll never say those 2 words the same, but hey, doing it for the content, right? Doing it for Josh. Everyone's go sub to Josh. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Horton, Josh 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 Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Horton, Josh 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 Horton. Say Josh Horton 5,000 times and you'll sound like what I'm saying. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Almost out of water. That's not good. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Let's go! Oh, they're halfway there. Okay then. Put that in 5K. Let's go. I think that deserves a subscribe, doesn't it? Yeah. So if you guys could subscribe, that'd be awesome. I came right at 5K. Yeah. Plenty of trick shots. Go sub to him. I played Among Us with him that one time. If you're new to watching this, pretty much how this is working is I made a little challenge where I would say Josh Horton 10,000 times if he gave me a shout out and he DM'd me and said he would do it. Yeah, 5,000. So we're halfway there right now, and it's been an hour and 20 minutes. But I'm trying to be done, Ash. I'm trying to be done at 5 o'clock. So here we go. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Alright, I'm out of water, so I'll be right back. Drink your water. Yeah, I am. I will, but I'm out, so I'm just gonna go on mute and I'll be right back. Okay, I am no longer muted. Is that correct? Carson, stop spam. I'll put you in a timeout. Alright. Carson, seriously. What did I just do? Sorry, Carson. I did not just try to do that, but whatever. You guys can hear me, correct? Can someone say that, please? Hello? Am I know there's people watching. Can you guys hear me right now? Anyone? Guys? That? Can you hear me? Just please, just someone say yes or no. I guess if it was no. Can you hear me or not? Seems like a simple question. No? Oh, you can hear me if you said that. Okay, I get it. No, seriously, this is a serious question. Can you guys hear me? Bro, you can't read lips, Michael, whatever. No, seriously, this is really difficult. Can someone please tell me? Yeah, okay. That's what I thought. So far I am on track to finish at 5, like I was hoping. So, we're going to continue. And I got a refill on. Alright, here we go. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Oh my goodness. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. So tiring. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Someone disliked the stream. Why? Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Oh my goodness. If you don't think this is hard, try it. One sec. Who is Josh Horton? Glad you asked. He's a YouTuber, Instagram person. He's an influencer. He's probably one of the best jugglers in the world. He does YouTube videos with other YouTubers such as Chris Staples, who is one of the best dunkers in the world, you know, in your basketball, and some other people, and yeah, so watch his videos, because I might be in one of them, and that'd be cool. He's actually subscribed to me. I made a video about that a while ago, but here, we're going to continue. Carson, stop spamming. I'll put you in a timeout again. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Sorry, Carson. I don't actually care if you type stuff, but don't just copy paste over and over. We're at 55%. Let's go. Again, let's do a subscriber check, because, you know, I don't have a live sub count, which I should really put on one of these times. All right, we are at 393 still. Come on. All right. If you guys can share this with people, tell them to subscribe. That'd be awesome. I know, Carson, you've already done that, so thank you for that. It means a lot. But if anyone else is watching that can help with that, that would be amazing. So, thank you. Let's continue. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. I can't do it. I mean, you know, not take water. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. 555. Isn't that cool? Not really. I'm just bored. All right. I got this. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 what the? Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Hey, Carson. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Wait, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 oh dang it, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Yeah, I am very close. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 dang it, Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. 6,000. Oh my goodness. I can't believe I'm doing this. We're at still for 393, so if you guys could sub, that'd be awesome. Also, Josh Horton is at, I said it, is at 698,000 subscribers, maybe even 699 now, so go help him get to 700k. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Good. Yeah, go sub to him. He really deserves it. Got Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Thank you for subscribing to him. He deserves it. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton. Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. I'm gonna try to go as fast as I can. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. What am I even saying? Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. If you're new, please subscribe. It's taken a long time. And my vocal codes are probably never gonna work again, but below Akash. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Yeah, I do remember when I was at one. Come a long way, and yeah, thank you. Carson's been here like 99% of the time. It's kind of crazy, actually. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. 1 sec, I want to plug this into the streaming device because right now it's into some iPad, but I think that this needs it more to survive this long. Oh no, it's slipping away. Okay, there we go, that's better. Alright. I don't know what's worse, you doing it or me watching it right now. Hola, also I don't think you made your bed today. No, I didn't. Sorry, but I didn't. You didn't think I was going to stay here. No, I didn't. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. 65%. Let's go. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Horton, Josh 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 Horton. Okay. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Let's go. 7,000. This is very difficult. So if you're watching, please subscribe. We're at 393. And yeah. Giveaway is happening right now. If you didn't know that, then you should check the description because it says everything you need to do. So you're 70% done. Alright, we're gonna go hard here. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Not gonna stop, sorry. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. If you're still watching this, please share with your friends because I want this to get a lot of views. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Oh my god. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Here. That's better. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 done. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. For the giveaway, say it in the comments, guys. I can't remember in the chat, so please just comment it in one of the videos that I did recently. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. You still here? That's insane. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Let's go. 75% done. Wow. Thank you all for still watching. Let's do some math here. I want to see if I can finish before 5. So there's 60 minutes until 5. 60 per minute for 60 minutes. Oh, I can't do math. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Alright, Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Okay. So if I say Josh Horton 60 times a minute for 60 minutes, what is that? 60 times 60? 60 times 60.
The answer is 3.
Oh wow. I'm gonna do it for sure. Okay, so let's go. I need more water. My mouth is so dry. I'm sorry. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Horton, Josh 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 Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. 6 people watching. Thank you so much. By the end of this video, you have said more than 20,000 words. Oh my god. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Yeah, I am ready for basketball tomorrow. Yeah, 8,000. Let's go, guys. It's awesome. 5 people watching. Nah, I can't even feel my vocal cords. I don't even know if I still have vocal cords. Thank you for asking, though. We are still at 393, so if you guys could subscribe if you aren't already. Nice. All right. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 dang it. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Yeah, there's a lot of different things that it sounds like I'm saying. Josh Harden, get shorter. Got shorter, got shorter, got shorter. It kind of does. Sorry. I can't. If you guys don't believe this is hard, try doing it yourselves. Try saying someone's name that is partially difficult to say. It's not hard to say Josh Horton, but when you say it 8,200 times in a row, it gets hard. Alright. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. I almost just said got shorter because I looked at the chat and saw what Carson said. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. JD man, hi. I'm sorry. I cannot even talk normally at the moment, but thank you for watching the stream. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Gosh, stop writing that. You're messing me up, Carson. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. If you're new, subscribe. Giveaway taking place right now. Check the description for details. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Next, Mr. Beast. Yeah, I don't think I can get that much, but that would be so awesome. Alright, if you're new, subscribe, check the description of this video, stream, whatever you want to call it, for giveaway information. Alright, we will That's my dog. Alright. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 oh my goodness, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 yay, 85. Say SOP 10,000 times. The short answer is no. Sorry, but this is very difficult already. Merch is fire. Thank you, my guy. Alright. Yeah, if you guys want to cop some merch, help me get, what's it called? Oh yeah, I'm saving up for a GoPro and a computer for better editing and such for YouTube, so if you guys want to support, go buy the merch, link in the description. Alright, we're going to do some math here again, because I, do not know what to do. 45 times 60. Oh, I'm going to do it. This is exciting. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. To edit. This is gonna be, if I tell you guys, you're not gonna stay subscribed, so Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. I currently use, I use a iPhone XR at the moment. You don't have to do this. What do you mean? Yeah, I do. I have to go. I have to keep going. I'm not gonna stop. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Yeah, I know. Just imagine. That would be tragic if I lost my voice at 9,999. Or if the stream stopped at 9,999. Yeah, I know it sounds like I'm saying that, but got shortened, yeah. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Alright, stop spamming. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Michael, stop spamming. Alright, boys. I can put you in timeouts. I'm not joking. Could do it right now. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. There you go. Get shortened. Josh Horton. Josh Horton. Josh Horton. Yeah, I can't do that slow, so I gotta go a little bit faster. Sorry, but I'm trying to say it right. It gets difficult at about 7,000. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Yeah, randomly stop. That's pretty funny. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. You can't even say it right, dude. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Oh, let's go. Oh my goodness. Thank you, everyone that is watching. It means a lot. And if you're new, please subscribe. Yes, I know I can't say his name right anymore. Watch this. I'm going to say it right. Josh Horton. Boom. I don't need a break. I'm grinding right now. I'm in the zone. Why you call me by my real name? Oh, Josh. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Oh yes, all right. Let me do a sub check real quick. Please, at least go up one. Bro, haven't gone up a single subscriber in so long. If you guys are new and are not subscribed, please do that. It helps me a lot. Every time I get one subscriber, it is amazing. 91%, yes sir. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Dang it. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. 5 viewers, thank you guys. If you're new, please subscribe. I've been going for almost 2.5 hours now, and I am almost at 92%. So if you're new, please subscribe. Let's go. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Let's go. Oh, this is difficult. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Alright, I'm going hard. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Oh, I don't know. My thing just died. Michael isn't subscribed. Wow. Alright. Please subscribe if you're new. But if you don't have an account, that's okay. I know some of my people don't have accounts. That's fine. I like you all equally. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Oh my god, good thing remains to be done. Yes, so close. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton, Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Okay. Yeah, 400 more. If you're not subscribed, make sure to do that. Unless you don't have an account, then you have a pass. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Horton, Josh 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 Horton. Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. 400 more. Let's go. Guys, stop saying random stuff. It's annoying. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Horton, Josh 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 Horton. Josh Horton, 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 Horton, Josh 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 Horton. This is it. We're gonna do it. Just check chat real quick. It came back just in time, huh? Yeah. 100 more. Let's go. Okay. Josh Horton, 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 Josh Horton. See that? We hit quintuple digits. Let's go. Oh my god. That was really hard. Thanks so much, everybody. Thank you guys so much. Shout out to Carson. Carson was here like the whole time. That's kind of crazy. Guys, I'm just gonna look here. I came just back in time. Yes, he did. Popcorn for the final 100. I actually, come on. Oh wow, guys, thank you so much. This was a part of a thing that me and Josh were doing where I would say Josh Horton 100,000 times. Sorry, not 100. I'm not saying it at 100. I'm sorry, that'd be like 42 hours. I would say Josh Horton 10,000 times if he gave me a shout out. So watch out. And Josh Horton will probably give me a shout out soon. So the link to his channel will be in the description very soon. I have not gotten to do it yet, but here, I'll do it right now. Josh Horton. There you go. So, this is crazy. I didn't actually. I think we did pretty good, guys. This is. Oh my goodness. Thank you all so much for watching. This would not have been possible without Waffalo. He is Josh Horton's editor. And yeah, he told Josh that I was going to do this. So, yeah, this is about the end. So, go subscribe to Josh, subscribe to me if you're new. And yeah, thanks so much, everyone. And I will see you later. Bye.